have sort of been involved a little bit in politics. You don't have to be anybody special. It's just building those relationships. Start with one commissioner, or start with your board of commissioners, or start with just your local legislator. You don't have to be a wordsmith. You just, very important is sincere, kind, and know your subject matter. The work and the action, the change is going to come from the bottom up.
Another skill set way that you help people is you are organizing a fundraiser for React 19 in Spokane, Washington on October 25th.
Kind of ended this night of music and art, and then we have
wow, that's great.
And then we have a really cool silent auction that's called A Night of Music and Art to Restore Hope for the Injured. All my injured friends, you're not alone, and people are still fighting for you. We have not given up, and we won't give up.
Welcome to the React 19 podcast, where we bring awareness and support to the COVID-19 vaccine injured and discuss the science, research, and laws that affect all of us. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today. I'm Ann Forty with the React 19 podcast, and today my guest is Laura Demaray, who I just recently met. And I'm very excited for the rest of you to meet her because of all the work that she's been doing to bring awareness to the adverse effects of the COVID vaccines and to the vaccine injured, and how she can help all of us do that a little bit better. I'm also thrilled to share an event that she is putting on because that's, I guess, another one of her super skills. Laura's organizing a fundraiser gala for React 19 this October in Spokane, Washington, which we're all really excited about. And she will give us all the details on that. So, Laura, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Ann. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. And what I would like to do is just to start by you just telling your story of, I mean, if we just start at the beginning of the pandemic, what were you doing? I believe you were a nurse. What you were doing at the time of the pandemic, and then what led you into the work that you're doing now. So I hand the mic to you, Laura, and just fill us in, give us a little timeline and what you were doing. I don't know, maybe we could start, I guess we'd be starting in 2020, maybe at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I kind of saw that coming in from China at the end of 2019. My husband and I, we have sort of been involved a little bit in politics, and when I was younger, I had actually wanted to work for the World Health Organization in my youth, and so I took 5 languages and that kind of thing. And then I realized as I grew up that they weren't actually, trying to help us. They did not like us. And so I essentially kind of, it's kind of why we moved in many parts due to not only family, but location where we live. And in end of 2019, we started working to get debt free and seeing what was coming. I wanted some freedom to be able to not have to have my job. And so
you were a nurse, or you are a nurse. Is that that's correct, right?
Yes, ma'am. I was a nurse, and I am a nurse. I was a nurse at that time, 2019, working more in eldercare. So at first I got to see the onslaught of COVID starting, obviously in 2020. And then to me, the measures that were not kind to my seniors, it started isolating my seniors. And at that time, relationship is everything to our communities. And so we worked in a little special place at that time that did not require our seniors to wear masks or things like that, because it was really torture for them. And we made a way. We even had like a cool hug wall and everything to make sure there was still relationship. And what we were seeing, there was I feel like the protocols, as you know, were not productive. For the first time in my nursing career, we heard, don't do anything, just come in when you can't breathe anymore. And that was not logical to me. And I was
Yeah,
also,
right.
yeah,
That
yeah.
happened to
And I was,
me.
right,
Yeah.
right. And for the first time in, the history of at least recorded or social media, we were told to not go do early home treatment measures or something. And I was also getting my master's at the time, so I had access to so many studies that were talking about various medications,
Oh,
like
wow.
ivermectin and things like that, and hydroxychloroquine that were effective in the SARS-1 epidemic, right? And
Okay.
so I could, it was a disconnect. And so therefore, our entire community banded together, and we kind of, and I think like every community across the globe did this in a disjointed way, just an organic way. Communities started forming medical undergrounds in a sense. Like even our local elected officials were helping pick up medications or things like that and bringing them to our sick elderly, or
Wow.
just everybody banded together, chicken soup, do the laundry, that kind of thing. So we could just help people with early home treatment. And then in the middle of, I would say, the pandemic years, post injection, I would say about 20, maybe end of 2021 or so, I moved into the hospital setting. I just kind of felt the call to, um, expand my nursing skills a little bit and get also, hopefully be salt and light in a small setting somewhere. And I feel like I got really blessed with a beautiful small setting.
Wow.
And so serving in the hospital setting, dealing with those COVID years and lockdowns, um, uh, I feel like, my husband and I had, blessedly, been ready to be fired at any time. But it gave us a little freedom to say no. And so, our facility allowed us, the place where I work, at that time, where when the mandates actually came down, they allowed religious exemptions. And I was very bold and
That's
open in that religious exemption. I shared exactly why, with links, biblical verses, and I can only see things through my faith lens. That's, so if I have a lot of references towards, faith, it's because that's the only way I can see the
gotcha.
world now, is these faith colored glasses. And I just feel like my faith gave me the words to say. And
So, how did you
mhm,
get into, so you're working at the hospital. So what led you, because you are an avid advocate, whether it's, county commissioner meetings or,
mhm,
meeting with heads of, governors or attorney
mhm.
generals or and whatnot. How did that happen? How did you get into that work where you actually started speaking out?
Yeah. So, um, well, one is, I had a piece about it, a lot of prayer, but, um, I had where I lived before, I used to live in Alaska, and, I had sort of already had sort of an introduction into that political world. I was, just a mom and a nurse, and for a while a single mama at the time. And but yet, um I guess the Lord had put me into the setting where, I had also worked for a senator, part-time, all around my kids' schedule, as well as the nursing job around the kids' schedule. And so, sort of introduced me into that world of getting braver about speaking up, speaking out. Um, how do you fix things? How do you fix a political problem? That kind of thing. And then, so fast forward, being here where I live now, I also, a friend had given me this book, The Doctrine of Lesser Magistrates. And
Oh,
so, I don't know if you can, there you go. And so with that, all those life experiences before, I feel like, forged me to be ready for such a time as this, to just love people, serve God, and just love others. And I feel like the doctrine of the lesser magistrates ended up sort of giving me that language to be able to communicate why our lower levels are actually the way to go. So it's been 4 years, and our higher levels of government, especially like in Washington, I know their job is hard, but they've done almost nothing
It's
to
so
help
broken.
my injured. Yeah, it's very broken, and it's very hard to do things effectively or earnestly there, in a sense. And so if it were able to protect citizens, it would have. And so if it were able to help our injured, it would have. It doesn't mean they won't in the future. But at this point in my life, I feel like the work and the action, the change, the mercy is going to come from the bottom up. So that being said, and anybody can do this, because I'm nothing special, and anybody can go to their lesser magistrates, which are often their commissioners, or they're also their local legislators. And so I started making, I had saved a lot of studies. I put them on a thumb drive, and the practicalities of it are I made folders for
Wow.
them to look at when we
Wow.
talked. And you don't even have to do this with folders. If you just want to go in and
Yeah.
sit down with your legislators, you don't have to have the folder or the thumb drive. These are helpful. It's really helpful. But, you know, I'd say ultimately the greatest effect was your words and your heart in those meetings. And and I realize, we've all been to a lot of rallies and things like that, but and they're important, but those are often people that agree with us. So when anyone decides to go to their lesser magistrates, realize it's going to be opposition territory, or neutral if you're really lucky. Not often do they already agree with you. And they are just people, they're all trying to do their best from all different walks of life, all different, it doesn't matter left or right. This is about humanity and mercy and the truth and real science. And so so
So what were
basically,
some of
yeah,
your
go ahead. Mhm.
So what were some, because yes, like that's what I started doing. Some of us, we just started going to our county commission. We didn't, and I will say this, yeah, we don't, you have so much information, and we should say to the listeners, as you just said, you don't have to go. It's really encouraging because you're such a wealth of information, and we'll definitely put in the show notes how people can connect with you. But yes, I mean, you typically you have your 3 minutes and you type that out and you talk really fast. um, so do you remember, like, what was your first event or something that you said, you know what, I'm going to go speak there? I mean, that was probably a long time ago, but do you remember what prompted you to, like, what was the first thing that you did in your first experience?
Okay, and do you mean for COVID or speaking out against something else?
Speaking out on the vaccines in
Oh,
particular.
okay. Okay. Yes. I would say I would say the first thing, that it wasn't so much speaking, but it was organizing. A couple of years ago, we did, we here in Idaho, me and a couple other moms, and we're just little scrappers. And
Right. Like the
we
rest.
it's, I am of humble means, like you know, um, but it was so important to get the message out. We gathered community members, and also kind of, I would say, like freedom fighters from around the country. We had Lieutenant Colonel Teresa Long, Doc Chambers. We had some React 19. Chris spoke with us, to our Idahoans. And we also streamed it. And I want to say that, also that was kind of, and And this is how,
That's not a little thing to get all those people to all together and do a stream with elected officials. That's a big
it,
deal. In fact, I think I'll put that in the show notes because I think you have the link to that because that'll give something else that the people can look at and go, now, let me see how this looks, But
well, I'm a girl on a mountain and I called people and got to meet them. So I'm just saying that it wasn't like, no, I'm not famous or anything, right?
right.
I just was tenacious. And so, I think after a while people just give up and they say yes and they show up. So you just
You keep going. You keep
you
going.
keep going and and also you get lots of no's, right?
And I think people should expect that and just know, hey, that's normal. Don't
it
don't be
it
dissuaded by a no. Just keep going. Just keep going.
mhm. It is. And so that first event, I just want to kind of see the very smallest of efforts, right? Um it ends up having an impact. Well, what happened was, friends of friends connected me with friends, and it's just amazing the fabric that's weaved together. I feel like the Lord weaves all these fabrics together. Well, that ended up being some of this little Idaho event 2 years ago or 2.5 was about. It was all day, and we just kind of scrapped together and paid our own cash for this event. It was very, very grassroots. And everybody was so gracious to come. And it ended up being a lot of the interviews on Died Suddenly. Well, that was well over 100 million views. Some of our
Wow.
interviews and our little bitty thing, our little bitty event. And so in those ways, by helping others and that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
making calls, doing emails, you end up getting people that start to know you and your efforts and that kind of thing. And so that is why I figure, all the scientists show up when I call them. God bless them they'll just show up. I just call them, hey, you guys, are you guys free, in 3 weeks at 4 o'clock for 5 minutes,
Wow.
and only because you start meeting people. You don't have to be anybody special. It's just building those relationships um, and just loving people. And
I really
so
think,
go ahead.
that's part of your message and, just what I've heard you say is, be respectful, know
Mhm.
that many people just don't even know. So they just think that they're doing the best thing. And,
Yes.
they haven't even been presented with this. And I think that's important, not to come in with hostility, but
Mhm.
tempered. And it's like, okay, we want to work together to try to solve this problem that's happening. And I'm not saying there's never a time, to not be forceful, but I think it's really important that, and I have just felt that way in watching you, and you're just a very pleasant communicator.
Well, thank you. I just want to point out that I stumble over my words
You do.
often, and I just realized that whenever people try and they go before, say, their county or start with one commissioner or start with your board of commissioners or start with just your local legislator, and you don't have to be a wordsmith. You just very important is sincere, kind, and know your subject matter. You
Yes.
know what you know why you're going to speak with them.
Right.
And so it is helpful to have a little research, even something you can hand them a handout, that
Yes,
kind of
you
thing
can do
that
that.
has
Even if you're,
actual facts.
yeah,
Mhm.
even typically, at least anytime I've spoken, whether it was at the public health department, at the commissioners meeting, I'm trying to think. And down at the state house, you're given that 3 minutes, but you are allowed to hand things out to them. Now, whether they look at it or not is another thing, but to come prepared. And again, you're just full of information. So anyway, so you're out, you're doing things. And so tell us some wins that you've had along the way.
Yes, yes. And realize we've had probably more loses than we've had wins. However, the wins have been very good.
Yes.
So 3 counties now at this point have publicly voted to, and they have signed resolutions that recommend against this genetic shot on the child schedule. They also ask for a forensics investigation, which is huge.
Wow.
And they ask for a health audit of Idaho. And
Wow. 3
now,
counties. Those are
mhm,
big wins.
it is big wins. And just realize uh, there has been awful no's, where people, I have gone in and I have been stared at like a zombie, just like this, like,
Oh,
or hostility, a little bit of hostility, but don't give it back.
right. Right.
Remember that okay, everyone that is, I would say, speaking out against, say, for instance, mandates or that kind of thing, or everyone that's advocating for the injured,
Mm.
realize that the people on the other side at this level, they have not heard generally the same information you have. It is a
That is
war of
true.
information. They love their children. They are taking the time to serve their community. And realize that they may not agree with you. And this is part of the doctrine of the lesser magistrates, why
Mm.
I explain that they do have the authority, and it is their duty in a sense, with historical and biblical precedents, to actually hold the line for their community members and protect them and get to the bottom of it, demand long-term studies, that kind of thing.
Right.
It is in their purview, because the historical and biblical precedents show that when the higher levels of authority of the land do not protect their citizenry, or make people comply, or try to make people comply with unjust laws or policy, the lesser magistrates, you just kind of go down the chain, and a commissioner can stand and hold
Yeah.
the line against a president.
And I
They can
think
hold the
that,
line against a governor
yeah,
in earnest, in
and,
earnest.
and I think that's why it's so important, as you said at the beginning of this conversation, you have to understand how important local elections are. Don't,
Mhm.
don't just come out for the presidential one. You need to know, especially your primaries. I mean, I know we're almost at the end of our primary season here, maybe pretty much are at the end, but if you know good people who might be willing to run, to get behind them,
Yeah.
but just know who is running, from a school board,
Yeah.
to that county commissioner, to, anybody, that who will support this. And, and then I mean, if you can campaign, I think you and I have both worked on campaigns. We've gotten
Hmm.
two we've gotten several elected officials. We got
Yeah.
a state senator that we got elected. We have someone who's going into, I think they're going to win the governorship and the lieutenant governorship. Um, I worked for someone who's running for Congress, who I'm pretty sure he's going to be elected. And I mean, these are people who are willing to put on their
Mhm.
material, yes, I will help the vaccine injured. And even if they're not
Wow.
like putting that out there, but that's their goal. I mean,
Hmm.
I think the founders gave us everything we needed, but it just depended on a citizenry that was engaged. You know, my
Yeah.
friend, the person who I'm helping them run for Congress, his wife wrote a book, The Spiritual Price of Political Silence. And I mean, she lays out in that
Yeah.
book, gosh, I should have had it out here today.
Wow. I
Everything
want to
that
read that.
I will put it in the show notes, because it lays
Okay.
out everything you can do on a local level. I mean, it's like, okay, you want to get involved, first do this, then do this, then do this. It's just she's so good. She made it so simple. The book
Hmm.
just came out on Audible. I mean, it's been out in print, but she just put it out on Audible, I think within the last couple of weeks. But I will put that in the show notes for anybody who's interested. It is a great resource. But what was so encouraging to me when there's someone at React 19 who introduced me to you, and to meet you and go, oh my gosh, we're doing the same thing. And oh, I felt like I could learn so much from you just in one conversation. And that excitement can, what do I want to say? You know, that excitement can grow, and just the synergy of, oh, you have that material, and oh, can I use that? And you can use this. And I just think that's what's so important about all of this, to know that you're not alone. There are other people just like you. You're a mom, I'm a mom, you know, the things that we do. Um,
Yeah.
and you don't have to be special. There was something you said in your last interview, and I have it written down somewhere, you know, I think it was just do one thing, just pick one thing, you
Yeah.
know, and you know,
Yeah.
just, and I don't know. I don't know if you have other things that you would say to encourage people.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So kind of two things. One, the nuts and bolts, just walking through really, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how to get before your board of commissioners or health districts. I kind of sometimes people have a county health district. The
Right.
other part is the encouragement part. One, don't get discouraged with no's. You you stepping out, you helping your neighbor, you uh, making some soup for someone who is sick. Um, we do like Christmas bags and stuff for the homeless, and just tell them how much God loves them. It doesn't mean you have to be of any religion, but you can be salt and light to people who are hurting. And so, obviously I love that React 19 can give to, they can give scholarships to injured, they're advocating for injured. It's hard to find people who are, and so that's what I value so much about the heart of React 19. And I always like to help them and volunteer for them, because if we don't do it, if React and that team and you and all the listeners, if we don't help the hurting and the suffering, if we don't get involved in these lower level elections and getting good people in our lower level public positions that are truly interacting and represent our communities. And if we don't do that, who will? If it And so I just want to encourage that we will have failures, but it is never a failure if you have tried to show mercy and love and help someone else. And it's okay if you mess up. It's okay if you get tongue tied in front of everyone. I mean, sometimes I get so nervous, I don't really sleep well the night before. And, I'm all jacked up on coffee when I go in, because I'm like so tired and just so
No,
stressed.
I hear
You know,
you. There have
like
been
I'm,
nights I've stayed up all night and then driven 2.5 hours down to our state house, you know, trying to get everything I want to say into 3 minutes. And then, you know, you go down there and, you know, then the next day you crash. But
yeah.
I just love how you put that, you know, the bottom line here is showing love and mercy. And I mean,
Mhm.
for people who've been treated so cruelly, but also, I mean, there has to be some level of mercy for those who just truly are not aware.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, and then we just have to navigate those who just have really bad attitudes towards us, or just refuse, you know, whether it's willful blindness or,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
whatever, that they're just not going to look at it. Okay, well, know that. And as Joel always talks about, Joel Walskog, you know, co-founder of React 19, he always likes to say, you know, shoot for that moldable middle, you know, those people, you know, who are at least willing to. And like you said, you might get
Mhm.
some no's, but you got some big
Mhm.
wins there. And as we work together,
Mhm.
hopefully in every state, like if we could have like one of you in every state, or
Well, there
you know,
there is. I think there
yeah,
is. I think, we're all trying from the grassroots
we
level. And I
are.
want to share
Yeah.
another win. We just had a legislative briefing that had about, I want to say about 14 elected officials. And that might be a good maybe segue into just the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is very helpful for your when you're looking at your state legislators
Hmm.
to ask them and approach them when they are not in session. If they are in session, they are so slammed, so overwhelmed,
Yeah.
so over, they have already made the decisions for what they're going to support far before their
Yeah,
session, which
that's
is
true.
usually like January to April. So
Yep.
start hit them now, get there and, ask them to talk with you or a Zoom meeting. So we were we had some new elections. We have some new local officials and legislators and state representatives and senators is what I meant to say. And so we asked for a legislative briefing. Could they give us an hour? And they did. And that was about 14 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And it didn't start out that way. I'd say the first event we had about 12, and now we have a lot more on board. This one meeting was about 14. And so I do believe
Wow,
that,
you had 14 legislators.
well, they were elected officials, so some were
Well,
state
some
senators.
type of elected official.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
Commissioners. I think we had a DA. I think we had a sheriff, an oncoming sheriff. Very important.
That's
Don't
a
forget
great
your sheriffs.
idea. That's a great
Don't
idea
forget your
just to ask
DAs.
them.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and just ask them, in kindness. And you may get a no, but what if you get a yes?
Yeah.
And so you can also share videos or things like that. Say, I'll send you our legislative briefing.
Okay.
So it's something that they could forward and share. Say
Great.
if they don't,
Great.
and anybody can use it. Also, I'll send you, if you want to put in there, we have a Substack that we sort of landed our templates on for say like local county resolutions and things like that. And so I ended up just getting a lot of questions. So we made a bunch of templates of how to ask for that time. And do you want me to do like the 1, 2, 3, 4 of just how to get in with your local
Sure.
legislator or
Yeah.
okay. So, first of all, you look them up online. How do you call your county clerk? You call the county clerk of your county. And if you look, some people have counties and boroughs, or they're the same thing interchangeably in a sense, just different structures. And you call and you say, you call your county board of county commissioners, or which will be generally you'll call your clerk. They're always the great place to start. And remember, be kind to the clerk, because the clerk has been there for decades, and your county commissioners are going to just come and go. They are important because they're someone that's willing to hold the mantle for their community. But the clerk is very important too, and they can help you navigate that whole system. So you call up your clerk and ask, how would a person, I've never done this before, how do I get on to a board of commissioners meeting to speak?
That's exactly what I
And
did.
then,
Yeah, that's what I did.
yeah,
Yeah.
you could see, and you're kind of a wordsmith, Miss Ann,
Yeah.
too. You're very good at words too. I love the way you write and speak. And so I feel like people, watching your podcast can actually kind of gain, look at that mannerism in which you talk and communicate. It's just very calm. And you have a good, I think you're kind of a wordsmith, because you read a letter to me when we first met, and it was it's just so good, so good.
Yeah.
And so,
And we can help each other do that. So yeah, but okay.
yes,
So call the clerk.
call them up, ask how to get on the board of commissioners agenda.
Yep.
That's number one. They will walk you through it. The clerks, I think
Everybody's kind. I mean, I shouldn't say
yes,
everybody's kind. I
they
think
are for
you
the
will
most part.
find more people who will try to help. If you are kind and respectful,
Yeah.
they will be kind. I mean, you don't want to call up and say, I want to get on the, I
Yeah, because
always
you'll get that
say,
right back. You will
yeah,
get that right back.
yeah,
If you call and are sassy, they're going to be sassy back to you, because they don't have to put up with it.
that's right. I
And
always
and
say,
yeah, go
be
ahead.
informed or be engaged, be informed and be kind. That's,
That
so,
is perfect.
yeah,
Yes, if everybody can remember that, then it actually helps so much of the dialogue unfold.
right.
And it's okay that they may not know or know as much as you do, or that kind of
You'll
thing.
learn as you go.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So
And
that's
so
number one.
number one, and then so they tell you how to do that, and you follow through, and you also ask, is it possible for me to have about 45 minutes? And that's if you want to have the whole presentation. Say like you have a local doctor that will speak, or you have maybe someone kind of from another state. A lot of times it works better that way, because local doctors hate to get hit in their own state. It's a lot of times easier to talk with somebody, have a subject matter expert from another state or someone already out there that's taken all the shots. Like all of our
Right.
science team, just, I tell everybody, if you give me a call, I'll try to, if it's possible, I'll try to get my colleagues together and Zoom in your
Right.
county. So we have somebody just called me from Pocatello. We're working on that. Somebody is talked to me from Washington, a county in Washington, and we're working on that. I'll do my best to help coordinate.
Yes.
So anyway, but you don't have to have subject
Yeah.
matter experts. Let's say you only have 3 minutes. You
Which is likely what you're going to get, at least
or
initially.
yeah, initially, or and you can ask for more time for the next time. And you write out your speech. Make sure you have some things that have facts.
Yes.
Because most people will, what we've been dealing with is the name of misinformation, name calling of misinformation or disinformation. Well, I'll say when I show up with a science team from all various, when I show up with disciplines from, or scientists and doctors from all various disciplines, nobody can fact check in a sense. I mean, because, what are you going to say if oh, they're not a microbiologist? Well, I've got one for you. Or you're not a cardiologist. Well, we got that too. And so it's almost really hard, at least when we are going into these counties with our science team.
Well, we need to put this down more in bite-sized bites. So let's just give like a bare bones here. So, because you have so much information. So, okay, call your clerk, get on the agenda, probably 3 minutes, write it out, time it. I have a story about when I went way over time and that was down.
Yes.
But so time
that happens all the time.
Yeah. And practice it, because they will cut you off. They'll say time and you just have to get ready for that. But practice it. And okay, then what's next? What's number 2?
Yes, and just remember, if you need help with the time, you need to time it on your phone.
Yep.
Practice it several times. It's generally kind of word of, I would say it's like 100 words per minute. So if you only have 3 minutes, if you're a fast talker, you can squeeze in 400 or 450. I got good at fast talking, but so think 100 words a minute. If you have 3 minutes and you need something with 300 words, and then so you head in there and you have some materials, have something to leave them, have some facts. A great one is the React 19 has a link to over 3,500 studies that show adverse harm, and that's a great resource. Even if you have one thing, you could go give them that React 19 link and page.
I would just say that right there, that would be good. And sometimes, they will, like when I've spoken at the county commissioners meeting, they'll ask for a copy of my notes, but what you can do is you can email them to them with those links in it, because that's easier actually for them. But
yes, so yeah, you're right on. And then after that, I often, that's a great time if it goes well and it's a respectful experience and that kind of thing. Often they will give, sometimes I get the 3 minutes and then you get to have more later. You get to, I ask for it. I ask, can I have 45 minutes?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's,
I've got it.
That might be, I think that's a long shot, but
for big cities.
Who knows? Yeah, if you don't ask, you don't know. So,
that's right. If you don't ask, you are not going to get it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I ask, but yeah.
I am now more emboldened after talking to you. It's like, oh, that's a great idea. I bet you I could work with somebody else who I know who does this here in Indiana. Oh yeah, let's try to get a group of people together. So I'm more emboldened now in talking with you. But for somebody who's just starting out, what are we on number 2 yet?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah,
okay.
It's really and then number 3, I would say is try again. This is the same aspect for your legislator as well. You call your legislator. Here in Idaho and then in Alaska, you can actually call your actual legislator. They all have their phones on the internet. But in bigger states, it's not the case. You have to call their office. And then you ask them, how could I get a few minutes with the legislator? Now, I just want to point out, especially in bigger cities, if you guys call your local state legislator, like your representative or your senator, realize especially in a big city, like, or a big state, like New York, realize you may not get that particular senator, but you will get an aide.
You will.
Respect that.
Respect
That
that
aide
aid. You have
makes
to
the
respect
decision.
everybody.
Yes,
Relationships, build those relationships.
yes. And that aide is the one that has that legislator's ear, and they do the work. And the legislator cannot possibly cover every subject. He
Exactly.
or she needs those aides. They make that office. The senator or legislator cannot do it themselves. And so take that meeting with the aide, and it may go nowhere, but I want you to remember you are planting seeds.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so the big picture, it is not your job to fight all the armies of darkness.
Yes.
You are faithful where you have been planted. And so if you can, not only, not grow weary of doing good where you've been planted, but reach out and get involved locally like that. So you just call them up, ask for time, you practice, you go in. It's okay if you aren't perfect. You have done well, and be proud of that.
Yes. Such a good
And
message.
yeah,
Such a
you
good
know,
message. You've done well just to make the phone call. You've done well.
yes.
Just know that, Just know
Mhm,
whatever is in your hands, just be faithful with
mhm,
that. That's it. That's it. And just,
yeah.
do the next right thing.
Mhm,
Okay.
yeah.
So anything else on that list?
Um, well, I guess not. I mean, I kind of, it's really a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
It's not really a 4,
And
5,
I
and
and I
6,
think
but
I think the biggest hurdle, because I worked here in Indiana with Hoosiers
Mhm.
for Medical Liberty, Ashley Grog, who does a great job, and that's what I've seen. You just over the last 3 years, you just keep showing up. Like you said, just keep
Yes.
follow up. I mean, every session, okay, well, we didn't get this last time, but we got this. So what can we ask for this time? And what can we do? And I can find, like, if I'm kind of feeling down, then, I'll get a phone call from her and she'll lift me up or back. And just, I mean, I would say that's true with all of my friends.
Yeah.
Just find like-minded people. And I don't know. I guess what do you think has been, if you were because I want to segue over to the fundraiser you're doing, but what do you think has been one of the biggest lessons you've learned in doing all of this? Like, if you were to say, oh my goodness, this was something I really learned, and this might be helpful for others to know too. And maybe you've already said it. I don't know.
Um, well, it's kind of through my faith lens, but um, it's more so, my biggest lesson um is it's okay that I did not change everybody's mind. Um, and but I am confident I planted a seed,
Yes.
and a seed of truth, and that it's not on my shoulders, because there's so much suffering, there is so much darkness, but through, I guess, my faith lens, I know that it is not my job to defeat all of the armies of darkness. I am so thankful that I could help in this little small way, or encourage someone, or um I'm just thankful every day. So I would say the biggest lesson is be thankful for the little things,
Mm,
and just realize it's not your job to defeat all the darkness. It is our job to be salt and light, and we're just I I'm content and joyful about um the times where I guess God's given me the strength to be faithful with the little thing, faithful with just a small step of calling up, and then going in there nervous as can be,
right.
and just I just giving God the glory on that. And it's okay if I'm not perfect. And I mean, and believe me, I have said the dumbest things sometimes, being just kind of, a little stressed or whatever. I was giving one testimony and I winged it instead of read it. So,
Oh,
that's a good lesson. Write
yeah.
down everything you're going to say. Because one
Abs
time I winged it
100.
and I called us.
100%. That, okay. When I say
I
it right now,
tried.
don't think you're going to
Yeah.
walk in and do impromptu.
Don't wing
Nope.
it.
Don't wing it.
Yeah.
Stick with your notes. Every time
Mhm.
I've messed up, it's because I've
Yes.
gone off notes. So that would
Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah.
Laura, that's such a great
I called
message.
us crackpots. I
Yeah.
literally called us crackpots. I was like trying to say firecracker, and I was like, "Where's the crackpots?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, that was
Uh,
recorded. Now I can't ever take it away." But we gotta have
but we
grace
keep
for
going.
ourselves.
But we
Yeah,
keep
we keep
going.
for
And
the fun. For
I
the
think
fun.
that lesson is a good one. Because even when I
Yeah.
called you, when I talked to you on Saturday, and I got off the phone with you, and I talked to my husband, I'm like, I so needed that phone call because
Oh,
because
good.
because the overwhelming darkness that I mean, just with the people who are being injured. And then last week I had doctors who basically weren't even acknowledging vaccine injury. And I was just like, "Ugh," but just in talking to you, it's like, nope, nope, we just keep going. We keep going. And one way we keep going, another skill set way that you help people is you are organizing a fundraiser for React 19 in Spokane, Washington on October 25th. And this is something any listener can be involved in the sense that
Mhm.
if you have $5 to give, or if you have, I don't know, $500,000 to give,
Yeah.
somewhere in
Our
between
side
there.
never seems to have all that, you know? Oh, I'm like,
but
come on.
but the pact is that everybody can do something to help,
Yeah.
because React 19 can only exist and only give out money that they get in. I mean, nobody takes a salary or anything at React 19. Everything that you donate
Yeah.
goes directly to the injured. It's tax deductible. And so it's really, really important. It's really important that people know that, React 19 is there to help the injured, will help the injured, but React 19 needs everybody's help. So tell us about this event that's happening on October 25th in Spokane.
Yes, ma'am. So October 25th, 4 to about 9:30 p.m., we have, it's called a night of music and art to restore hope for the injured. It will be in Calvary Chapel, Spokane, in Spokane, Washington. And we have, my idea, or the evolution of this idea. We were also hoping for sports, music, and art to restore hope for the injured. We still will probably have some sports legends there,
Oh,
but
great.
it's in process. It's in process. We have
Okay.
some soft yeses. So I'm just kind of relying on the Lord to bring whoever needs to be there. But right now, what we have is really wonderful. So we have a Dr. Cole's our medical speaker. He has
Oh,
great slides and a sense of
he's
humor. And
so wonderful. I mean, all of his knowledge and experience.
yes, ma'am. And then we have uh, a internationally acclaimed string quartet. Jeff
Wow.
Butler is pulling together. Yeah, I mean, somebody's coming over from Germany because they were coming over anyway for another thing. So it just sort of worked out, all this blending together. It sort of weaves together so beautifully. We have like Gregory Natan, we have Jeff Butler. Can't remember Francis' last name, but basically this incredible string quartet that has, some of its members are truly internationally acclaimed, and then all of them are in professional symphonies and things like that. And then Jessica Setta, who is just an extraordinary
Oh,
human being,
right.
she's going to do like a little original piece with the quartet as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and then we have a up and coming, pretty amazing, very faith filled, but also just very talented up and coming country band. Spokane kind of really likes country, so we kind of blended this night of music and art. And then we have
Wow, that's great.
a really cool silent auction that's sort of becoming a freedom fighter collection. We have art coming from Dr. Cole. I didn't even know he was an artist.
Wow.
He is, and he's contributing one or two pieces. Sasha Ladipova has contributed like 16 beautiful pieces of
Wow.
oil and watercolor. CC Blakeman from former Feds is giving us two original pieces. let's see, some others. Oh, little local freedom fighters. Alex, sweet little girl named Alex Bailey. She's 19, just an incredible up and coming artist. And she's given 3 pieces. Some local
Wow.
photographers. My friend Kathy Keck is giving 3 beautiful photography pieces. And all these people are just they're doing what we're talking about in where they have been planted. All of these people. It's just this little freedom fighter collection. And there'll be more. We have already a sports jersey that's signed and donated. We'll probably have some more of those. It's still in process, but
Right, right.
yeah. And then we have some surprises. We have some surprises that'll be unfolding over the next 2 months to this event. And and then we have Bree and Joel Dressen and Doug Cameron, who is a very outspoken and just grace-filled, amazing and strong. I mean, we have just become good friends, and I love him.
His story
Is
is so
Doug
tragic.
Cameron. Yeah, it is,
So
but he
tragic.
is not. He is so inspiring. And Doug will show up with me anywhere. He's part of our little
Wow.
science team. Yeah, I don't even know how he figures it out. I'm like, hey, we're speaking at the Capitol. There's Doug. He just finds the right door to get
Wow.
that wheelchair in. I'm like, and he's right there, and like everybody's crying, and he is astounding. And he is
Yeah, just so
so he
people
is
know,
very excited.
he was vaccine injured. I mean, he became
Mm-hmm.
paralyzed from the vaccine. So,
Mm-hmm.
wow,
Yes,
that is
ma'am.
incredible.
Yeah, he really he when we speak, and we speak together a lot, I kind of start it and he finishes it. He brings it back home, and he just people are just in tears. Doug is actually a very good speaker, and very heartfelt, very sincere. And so anyway, he's going to go up, and we have so we'll have a basically a React 19 and injection injured panel, and they are going to get up there, and sort of everybody gets to tell their story. It'll be like kind of a round table. And so the community really gets to understand what's happening there. And then we also are going to have a lot of React 19 vetted providers that are there. There'll be a provider table of React 19 vetted providers, where,
Okay.
because that's something that the church actually asked for, that's something that they want, were some vetted providers that are
Right.
safe to send their injured to. So and because
What
that's
an
kind of what
event.
React
That's
19 does.
fantastic.
Yeah, there'll be some other surprises too. I can't wait to share with you. I don't want to speak too soon, but
Mhm.
there are some really cool surprises coming. And um so anyway,
Yeah, well, maybe even, I
it's a
mean,
start.
we're in August, but maybe in late September we can jump on and do another podcast just on the event. I'm just something short, not that
Yeah.
you have to tell all your surprises, but you can just give us an update and maybe what's going on. So, okay, Spokane, Washington, October 25th. All of this will be in the show notes. Any other information? I know that I speak, I mean, I'm sure Laura would say the same. I think so, Laura. If any of you who are listening have questions, Laura, I'll put your contact information in the show
Sure.
notes. You can reach out to me at React 19. That'll be in the show notes, because we just want to help others. We're just all here, just trying to help each other out, to bring help where we can, to be that salt, to be that light that you spoke about, Laura. And we can all do that. Every single one of us has the ability to be
Yes,
salt and
ma'am.
light where we are, and we can help someone carry a burden. We can do that.
Yes.
And
You say that
so,
so well. It is so true. I love the way you communicate, and I agree with everything you're saying. And um I really
gosh,
appreciate
imagine
what
if
you're
we lived in the
doing.
same town. Probably good. No, it's probably good, because I need to take all that I've learned from you and do it right here. So, is
Well,
there anything
ditto,
else?
ditto. I need to do the same thing. I can't wait to glean from you as well.
Gosh,
So,
I'd like to make it out there in September. Maybe I can make that work to see what this looks like, or in October 25th. I don't know. I'm going to see if I
okay.
can get
Well,
out there.
we're bringing our RV. So in case we have extra,
Okay.
extra people with us, it's got a couple of
Actually,
beds. Yeah. And we're staying
actually,
at
I
a
have
friend's
a
house.
nephew that lives in Spokane. I think I have to make
Oh
this
my
work.
gosh. That would be
I think so.
amazing. That,
So, they just moved. So, all right,
great.
all right. Do you have any final words, or are we set to get back and get rolling?
Only that I love you guys, and just all my injured friends and friends that I haven't met yet. I love you, and just you're not alone, and people are still fighting for you. We have not given up, and we won't give
Nope.
up. So
Nope.
just
We
love
won't.
you guys, and God bless all of you.
All right. Well, that's a great place to leave it, Laura. Thank you so much for being here today. And folks, check out the show notes. And hey, we hope to see some of you in October.
I
And
know.
yeah, and remember, just I'll put the donate button in the show notes too. Anything that you can give, just know you are lifting someone's burden when you press that donate button. So, Laura, thank you. We'll talk again.
Thank you so much, Anne, for having me.